Hello, welcome to the Meet Our X Success Story podcast. I'm here today with our friend Ollie, and he's going to share with us his journey to the carnivore diet and all the things that happened to him. Hi, Ollie. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Can you begin by telling me what was the food that you ate prior to coming to a meat-based diet, and what kind of health conditions did you have? What brought you to this carnivore diet?
Yeah, so kind of what brought me to the carnivore diet was I've always been a competitive runner, and when I finished university, I was running about 35 minutes for a 10K, and I was training probably 100 Ks a week, I think, and I was consistently hitting the 100K goal, and my anticipation was that I was going to continue to get faster, and I ended up putting on quite a bit of weight, and my times became significantly slower, and I wasn't really hitting any of those targets that I wanted to meet. And then when I was away for work one time, we had a person come in and was testing everyone's blood pressure, and I thought that my blood pressure would be fine because I'm a runner and I'm fit and healthy, and came back that my blood pressure was high, and their recommendations were, cut down on the sodium. And I sort of just accepted that, that's probably part of aging, and that high blood pressure ran in my family. So I sort of thought, well, there's not much I can do about it. And then one day while I was driving for work, I heard a guy come on the radio called Dr. Sachin Panda, and he was talking about intermittent fasting and autophagy. And I thought, oh, this sounds great. I can just cut out breakfast, which I don't particularly enjoy eating anyway, and I'll see some health benefits from some fasting. So my partner and I implemented fasting, or intermittent fasting, on a sort of an 18-hour fast, on a daily basis for 6 months, and I didn't really see any improvement because my diet was still pretty poor and a lot of processed foods. And then one day my partner brought home a book that was written by Professor Grant Schofield and Karen Zinn, who's a dietitian in New Zealand. And they had written a book on, it was called What the Fast, and there was also a book called What the Fat. And my partner wanted to read What the Fast, so I decided, okay, it's all good, I'll read What the Fat first until I can then read What the Fast. And I started reading What the Fat, and about half an hour into the book, I looked over to my partner and sort of said, I think that I need to change my diet, and I think I need to cut the carbohydrates out. And we had a discussion after that point, and we decided we'll give it 3 weeks of going on a low carb diet, and we'll just see how we go, basically. And by the end of the 3 weeks, I'd already started feeling much better and losing a lot of weight, and just continued to learn about keto, and it sort of just made me really interested in keto, and I just continued to listen to podcasts and to read books on it, and decided that I really enjoyed it and wanted to continue to optimize. And again, when I was away for work, I was talking to a work colleague, and he said, that's great that you're on keto and that you're seeing some benefits and that you're enjoying it, but have you heard of the carnivore diet? And I'd said, I'd heard little bits about it, but it sounded pretty crazy. And he was like, well, I think there's more behind the carnivore diet than you probably realize, and that you should look into it because you can still be in a ketogenic state and on a carnivore diet. And he recommended that I went and listened to the Carnivore cast. So when I got home from work, I decided, yeah, why not? I'm enjoying listening to all this information, so I'll listen to the Carnivore cast. And so I just started picking random episodes of things that seemed interesting, and just heard, various people talking about the carnivore diet, and just over time, sort of all of those worries about the carnivore diet, or, thinking it was crazy, sort of disappeared, and it started to make more and more sense to me. And then came 2019 World Carnivore Month, and I was going away camping for a week, and I thought, well, what a perfect time to implement World Carnivore Month. And so in 2019, implemented World Carnivore Month, and basically never looked back from that point.
Can I ask you in 2019, when you did implement it in that month, did you have any transitional issues, or were you pretty good since you'd been keto before?
Yeah, the transitional issues were, they were pretty good. I didn't have a huge amount of issues. There was a little bit of diarrhea was really probably the only thing. But I had always sort of had issues with diarrhea in my past anyway, so it wasn't a massive issue for me. And likewise, when I transitioned to keto, I didn't really see any signs of the keto flu, and I wasn't exactly supplementing. Well, I wasn't exactly taking too many electrolytes or anything at that point, because when you first sort of jump head first in and you've only got one night's reading behind you, it's not necessarily optimal.
So how did you do your keto? Did you include vegetables, or what kind of
Yeah, I did. Because we've always been told that vegetables were, healthy. I thought, my priority will be vegetables. And we were actually having some keto meals that were meat-free days. And I was putting a lot of olive oil on my meals and making a lot of mayonnaise and adding a lot of extra fat. And that was fine, but it sort of seemed a bit strange to be pouring fat over every meal. It sort of didn't seem evolutionarily appropriate. So as much as I enjoyed it and felt good, it also seemed like if you're trying to optimize, it seemed like kind of an unnatural way to be optimizing. It just didn't, seem evolutionarily appropriate.
So, okay. So how did your running change over that period of time when you were keto? And then
my running has been, that's been the biggest benefit that I've seen. So I run anywhere from 1,500 meters to a half marathon. And ideally, I would like to run a marathon at some point, but building up to it. When I was at my largest weight, I was running about 37 and a half minutes for a 10K. And, I was training 100 Ks a week, so training quite a lot. And I was under a reasonably intense training load. And, I was just getting worse and worse. So when I lost the weight, my times kind of came back down to where they had been, which was around 35 minutes. And then over time, as I think continued to optimize and adapt to the diet, I just saw, greater benefits. And, now I'm down to running 32 minutes for a 10K. And my last 3,000 meter race was in 8 minutes 53. So in terms of short, because we see, we see a lot of people in the carnivore space and the keto space talk about ultra distance running and the benefits of running for ultra distance athletes. And so you're sort of in a space where you're sort of like a little bit worried that maybe it's not going to be perfect for the type of running that I've done. And I haven't noticed that. I haven't noticed being lethargic in any of these sort of races that require glycogen, to make sure that it's been okay. I've chucked in continuous glucose monitors, and I've had them in when I've raced 1,500 meters and when I've done my half marathons. And my last half marathon and my last 1,500 meter race, we saw my blood sugars go up to 13 millimolar. So apologies, we're operating in millimolars over in New Zealand. But that's really high blood sugars, and that was a fasted half marathon where the night before I'd had a large ribeye steak and bone marrow, and we'd see basically your body will create it when you need it, and didn't require. My blood sugars peaked at the end of the race, so there was certainly no bonking within the performance. Which is pretty cool to see. So I think probably one of the things that makes me want to come onto the Meet RX podcast is to sort of demonstrate to people that a carnivore diet can be optimal for sort of ultra distance running as well. It's not just about people who are doing these ultra long distance races.
That's awesome. I'm so glad you wanted to share. And I wanted to ask you, okay, so how did your blood pressure do? How about your mental clarity? Did you lose weight when you went to carnivore?
Yeah. So I lost weight when I went to keto. I lost 13 kgs. Pretty much straight away, the weight just started falling off. Since I've been carnivore, I'm only weighing 59 kgs now anyway, so I'm not exactly heavy. So I haven't lost weight since being carnivore. I think that probably my body composition's improved. So now I sort of include more protein in my diet, a significant amount of more protein. Yeah, I think my body composition has improved. I had a DEXA scan when I was keto and came back that I was 16% body fat. And I'm not 100% sure at the moment, but it's probably, 15 or 14%. And in terms of my mental clarity, I saw benefits when I went keto, but I saw more benefits when I went carnivore. And I think that it's probably just from cutting out, some of the foods that are more inflammatory. I definitely, you can see from my before photos that there was quite a lot of inflammation that I've had. I've improved the quality of my sleep, and there's been a plethora of effects of improvements within my life, that's for sure.
Well, you look great, Ollie. I think you look great. Your skin, everything. You look young too, and it's great that you found the carnivore diet while you were young and not when you were growing older. So I think that's great, and it sounds like you had some great improvement, and I love that you shared that you don't need the glucose, that your body will make it with the protein that you eat as you need it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And hopefully moving forward, the carnivore diet will continue to keep me youthful and young. I did a running race yesterday, and I'm less than a year away from entering into the master's age grade. And if I can continue to run the way I am at the moment, then I'll be competitive at a national level for a master's age group. And it's always a difficult conversation with runners to tell them that you're on a meat-based diet. New Zealand is very similar to the States. We follow a lot of the trends. So a lot of runners are more more plant-based than they are meat-based. And I'm running against a lot of younger guys. And yesterday, one of the spectators said to my parents that were watching the race, what are you feeding that guy? And my parents said, well, he's feeding himself, but, he's eating meat, a lot of meat. And the person who asked him sort of couldn't get their head around it, sort of almost didn't believe it, like, oh yeah, eating meat. And you're like, no, not just eating meat, eating a lot of meat.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
So can you tell me what your favorite meats are to eat? Ribeye?
Yeah, of course, ribeye. Yeah. We eat a lot of ribeye. We're really spoilt in New Zealand. So we typically will buy bulk meat. We've got a freezer under the house, so we'll buy half a cattle beast, and typically I'll eat the ribeyes first, and then we just move through the animal, and we'll buy a lamb as well and eat a lot of lamb. Big fan of lamb racks. So my partner and I will buy a couple of racks of lamb, and I just find that that's a perfect meal to provide me with energy, but also with satiety. So yeah, fattier cuts of red meat, a lot of slow cooked red meat. We do eat some vegetables on certain days. We'll include, onions and garlic and a little bit of broccoli or cauliflower or cabbage or lettuce or avocado, and at times I'll have some kumara or some berries. But yeah, just a small part of the diet, and I don't see a huge negative side effect. Not suffering from an autoimmune response or anything like that. So enjoy having a little bit of that diversity within the diet. But then when I travel for work, and I'm out of town quite a bit, I find that being on the road and eating out at different places, it's just for me a lot easier just to be strict carnivore. And so I'll, when I'm away, I'll go to a Brazilian restaurant once every 2 weeks and have a big feast of various meats. And then the next week I'll get a lamb shoulder that will be a pretty decent sized feed. And so I am pretty spoiled in that regard too, that I find that it's pretty easy to eat when I'm on the road. Sort of worked out all the different places that you can go to have a good carnivore meal.
Yeah, that sounds great. I love lamb. It's delicious.
Yeah,
And especially New Zealand land, isn't it? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So how's your partner? Is she loving it, or?
Yeah, she is. She's done awesome. She's lost 26 kilos doing it. And she's just continued to thrive, and she was having issues with her ankles and constantly, like myself, constantly being injured. She was trying to exercise and constantly being injured, and she's now out running, and she's been doing some runs with me on my recovery days, and yeah, she's thriving, and yeah, super proud of the effort that she's put in as well. So it certainly helps when you've got your partner fully on board with it. I think that's been the key to the success that we've had. I see a lot of people that implement it and then they say, oh, it's really difficult for me because my partner's a vegetarian, or my partner's vegan and they refuse to eat meat. Whereas with myself, I'm in a situation where she's 100% on board and is keen to learn with me as well. And yeah, that's cool.
Great. Yeah, awesome. So do you have a tip for someone who's considering this lifestyle? Your best tip of being a carnivore for over 2 years?
My best tip, I think I often say to people, keep your protein high and make sure you get your electrolytes in. Often see people getting the keto flu, and we know why, that we get the sodium imbalance and the natriuresis of fasting. So I think that's really important, and I think that there's a real fear around protein. Everyone's worried about their uric acid, and particularly if you're exercising, I think protein is something that needs to be leveraged. I think that not only do we have a fear of fat, we have a fear of protein, and both of them are unfounded. So I think protein's a great thing.
Definitely is. It makes you strong, doesn't it?
Certainly does, yeah, and helps your recovery.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Ollie, for coming to share your information. It was lovely to meet you, and I'll be seeing you around the community.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Sure. Bye-bye.
See ya.